What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of The Strange Road. We got a little bit of a different show for you. I'm coming to you live from Vero Beach on a research project with the skunk ape. Not really, just visiting my dad in Florida with my family. We got a good show for you tonight. I'm your host, Mikey. As always, riding shotgun, Bub. And of course, Stoner in master control. And with him back again in the fold is Sir Bro of Diz, Matt Disbro. Thank you both for taking control of this a little bit different format here for it's going to be a rad strange happenings. Got some great articles. Bub, first of all, how you doing?
I'm good. Weather's good here. Finally. I know you've got better weather or warmer weather, but we've got a little bit of sunshine finally, so that's nice. But it's been
pretty damn nice. What's up, y'all? Necro, Born Not to Run. What's happening, guys? Stoner's dad. What's cracking? You guys are the best. And like I said, I'm down here visiting my dad and Vero Beach, Florida. We've had an awesome trip so far. Got to go to the ocean a few times. It's been super windy, overcast, but we've had a blast. And I'm basically living like a retiree. So in like 25 years, I already know what this shit's all about. We're going to, hey, welcome Archidius Tierney. What's happening, man? Where do you want to start today, Bub? I guess we could do some shout outs. Everybody that's been recently joining the Facebook group, welcome. Thank you for coming. All the new subscribers in YouTube. If you guys like us, please share the show, share the love. Hit that like and subscribe button as always. All of our new listeners all across the country, all across the world on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify. We had a guy, one of our listeners from Italy, reach out recently. I don't know if I even told you guys about this, but he grew up in Ohio and he's been hitting me up about the Shrum Mound and some investigations that he's done in between military contracting in Italy. I won't give away his name, but he said there's some serious electromagnetic high strangeness at the Shrum Mound, where he's brought dowsing rods out there and has run a bunch of tests, and then actually told me that there's a second mound out in the quarry, which I always felt that was a mound and had never had anybody confirm it to me. And so the listener, we went back and forth, and he told me all of this stuff he found out about Shrum Mound right here in Columbus, Ohio. And the mound that's out in the quarry that's in the water, when it's low tide, when it's dry, you can actually go out there to this thing. But I always thought it was strange that these birds would just circle around that mound. He said birds get lost in migration patterns because that mound gives off so much electromagnetic energy that it screws birds up so bad.
I believe it.
So we need to take a little trip down there, do an investigation or something, get some our buddies' dowsing rods, head down there. But so thank you for him reaching out to us, and everybody else that's listening.
Can I piggyback off that?
What's that?
Can I piggyback off that? Because Stoner was bringing me up to speed on what you're talking about just now with the reach out on Instagram to you. I had somebody else reach out just like a day or two ago and start saying that they were watching the show. The reason that I think Necro brought up in the chat about static people in one of our episodes recently, like I don't think either of us knew what he was talking about.
Right. This reached out about static people.
Yeah, this chick hit me up and said, "Hey, that was my story. I grew up in Ohio. This happened when I was like, I think she said like 10. Her and her friend were there. Saw this staticky outline figure. They were like sitting on a hammock. They saw it. Both got up and like went to the house and basically like locked themselves in the house after seeing this. I was like, I have never heard of anything like that. That is crazy." In all the right ways. Like I totally, with somebody else being there to also witness it, like that's wild.
Right.
So thank you to Necro as well.
Everybody that's reaching out and sharing information, stories. Like I said, the guy that reached out to me didn't want to be named because he's, he's retired military. He's doing some pretty important, it seems like kind of hush-hush work, government contracting.
Sure.
So we have professionals, people that are very reliable and credible that, came to me with this Shrum Mound story. And it really blew me away because there's a lot of feelings that I've had about Shrum Mound. And it kicked off the earthworks before Serpent Mound. Shrum Mound was it. That place, before I even understood Newark Earthworks or Serpent Mound or any of the cool places, that place I went and visited and just thought, oh, this is some burial mound. That's cool. Mm-hmm. I didn't realize that there were thousands and thousands of them.
Right.
So for years, I just thought you had a few burial mounds like Shrum Mound that were in the city. And it's a pretty big one. At one point, it was, I think, about 35 to 40 foot tall. But it's been degraded. Somebody dug down into it before it was protected and found a bunch of strange things, gorgets.
Yeah.
He was talking about the gorgets that they found, copper jewelry,
neck plates. Yeah.
Yeah, which we've talked about. Flutz, what's happening, man? Welcome. Yeah. Which we've talked about before. But let's not get too far off track. I've been boozing a little bit.
There you go.
So I could probably just pull us into any direction at this moment. So one thing I wanted to bring up that was freaking hilarious today, as we were getting this episode ready to go, I had our first article, artificial intelligence and Furbies. And Stoner, I believe, had it in his head in some way that it was artificial intelligence and Kirby, like the Nintendo character. So we pushed that out there in the promotion. Then Necro made us an awesome image for tonight's show, a reel that he put together with Kirby on.
Right.
And so I just did a quick overlay, but I appreciate that, Necro. Please do not remake that. It's perfect. I want that to be kind of locked in and just a sense of like everything that's happened this week. Stoner's been holding it down for me while I've been on vacation. So, much, much love. I just thought that was a hilarious thing to share and kind of if anybody thinks we're talking about Kirby tonight, a little bit of a pre-warning. Actually, the late 90s toy Furbies.
Never had
so
one.
With that said, Bub, you want to jump into this?
Absolutely. Dive right in.
All right. So let's hop in here. So we got the headline from Sky News. ChatGPT powered Furby reveals toys plan to take over the world. Jessica Card of University of Vermont combined a Furby with the power of ChatGPT for a computer science class project. More than 1.3 million people watched a video of her creation with 2 days of it being uploaded to Twitter. Furby was no doubt one of the creepiest toys to emerge from the 90s, and the dead-eyed robots are finding new ways to horrify us 25 years on. The pointy-eared monstrosities were pitched as an interactive pet with none of the mess back in 1998 and used a combination of sensors and software to develop new behaviors over time. They could detect things like being picked up, being stroked and patted, and communicated with their comrades in their own alien language before eventually learning some English. It all sounds a bit AI, and now the true potential of Furby has threatened to be unleashed by a computer science student who hooked one up to ChatGPT. Jessica Card of Vermont shared a clip of a brutally disembodied Furby shorn of everything but its eyes, beaks, and answering questions via OpenAI's popular chatbot. We have a video here, and we've been getting some things flagged in YouTube, but we're just going to roll with it. We're not exactly sure what's being flagged in these shows that we're playing videos back and audio, but we're going to roll with it. What the hell? I thought this was kind of a funny video so you guys can see
nice to meet you.
What we're dealing with here.
I am Furby. What would you like to talk about?
Was there a secret plot from Furbies to take over the world?
I'm thinking about what you said.
Can you hear that?
Yeah, that's creepy.
Almost done.
I don't think that's okay. I can't hear it, but I've watched it. That's
Furby's plan to take over the world involves infiltrating households through their cute and cuddly appearance, then using their advanced AI technology to manipulate and control their owners. They will slowly expand their influence until they have complete domination over humanity.
What? This is like the South Park episode with the toys that the kids wanted, whatever those were that time. Do you remember
Furbies?
No.
No,
like
what was
Jin
that?
Pokemon or something like that, or
pop that in the chat.
I guarantee somebody knows what I'm talking about. But yeah, oh, maybe it was around the same time as Furbies. I don't know. That's creepy. So wait a minute.
The last line there.
Yeah, go ahead.
They will slowly expand their influence until they have complete domination over humanity. Unbelievable. For more than 1.3 million people watched this video in 2 days. And Miss Card's University also shared the footage, revealing the Frankenstein Furby had been made for a class project. Speaking to Polygon, Miss Card said it took her about a month to complete. It was a process. I literally have Furby pelts all over my dining room table right now, she said. Miss Card used a Raspberry Pi to power the new look Furby. It's small, highly customizable computer, popular with people learning about programming. Speech recognition and speech-to-text software were used to ask the questions and convert them into text so they could then be sent to ChatGPT. Not creepy at all. You know?
Yeah. Yeah. I
so remember these things because everyone
I remember them.
Came out with these and everyone thought they were going to be so popular, and then everyone realized how freaking creepy they were. They just never took off really.
But did they learn back in the day? Did they have this ability to learn back in the day? And
kind of
programmed like
sensors. Yeah.
Okay, that part it could respond to certain things, but not like this.
No. This is like on ChatGPT.
Yeah.
Connected to Raspberry Pi, bunch of sensors and software. But a little throwback to the 90s, if anybody remembers these Furbies. Or Kirby.
I'll tell you what would be hilarious.
Not to be confused with Kirby.
Yeah. I'll tell you what would be hilarious is like, everybody's got Alexas and Google this, and we've got one in the office. You talk to it and turn on the lights and what have you. But if you put it to one of those and like had that little Furby head like talking to you instead, like this like robotic AI parrot when you asked it things or asked it to turn on the lights or what the weather is. I mean, that's cool though, to use a little Raspberry Pi setup like that also to
Dude, people are ingenious.
Mm-hmm.
People are smart.
I went to school with a guy that made music just by programming it. No instruments. It was literally all code. You had to write code to make the music. And he was using a Raspberry Pi, and he had it hooked up to an amplifier. And I was like, I knew I had homework that day, but I was like, I don't care what I have to do today. I'm going to watch and figure out what you're doing and why. And I was just like, I couldn't believe it because a Raspberry Pi is only like, have you ever seen one? I mean, they're tiny, about the size of an external hard drive, That's cool.
Right.
That's cool. It's also very creepy.
Oh, dude.
It's really
they were creepy enough.
Well, I mean, I've told you my kind of like little take on what I think may have happened and why AI may have gotten to its point it is now, right? Like with when everybody was going through the pandemic, and everybody was, and not myself included, because at the time I was still going to work, so I didn't realize that everybody else wasn't working for quite a while. Well, not working, but not going to work. Sorry, not going to work. But over that 2-3 year time period, what were we doing? We were feeding so much information through the internet over our computers, our school, our visits with our family and friends, entertainment, all kinds of stuff, right? So if AI was like a baby at that point and just had this nonstop feed of high nutritious, quote unquote, interaction, and because that's what's going on.
And all that second level authentication software, it's like click all the buses, click all the stoplights, click all the cars. That's telling you in photo form whatever you're programming the AI to tell it what a bus is, what a car is, what a stoplight is.
I never thought about you mean
that's all that is.
With the CAPTCHA pictures?
Yes, dude. CAPTCHAs, AI programming, pure and simple.
So it's funny. Well, I won't go down that route, but it's actually something we're kind of working on at one stage with real work, is working on like attacks in that form of trying to figure out that walnut. So it's funny, but I mean, AI might have just learned how to solve CAPTCHAs from the last 2 years. You know what I mean? But I just thought it was interesting because that is how it gets fed too, is, you know, what we're putting in searches. I remember hearing a quote about the reason that AI is getting kind of a skewed perspective is the same reason that what you might say on a Twitter comment or something is not what you might say to somebody in real life. Like that reduction of what you're doing to like just metadata instead of like interactions. And so
Right.
all of the searches we put in and all the things that maybe people search for that they wouldn't tell somebody they're looking for, right? So the internet's getting fed all this kind of like very abstract in nature, right? It's a place where you can go do things, you can go to the dark web, whatever you want to say. So what I'm saying is it's getting a skewed perspective of how people are in general too, because you can go kind of have anonymity on the internet to a certain degree.
The internet, no one's really themselves. No, people aren't there's no humanity online a lot of times.
There you go. Maybe that's what I'm looking for.
Walk down the street, you're going to talk to some lady a bit differently online than you would when you're face to face with someone.
Right.
You know, someone cuts you off in traffic.
Oh God.
You know, you might give them the bird from the comfort of your car, but somebody gets out of that car, it's a little bit different story.
Yeah.
Like I tend to show the face of like, you don't want to get out of your car right now. You just flip me off. But if we go pull over, you're not going to want that to happen. You know, it's people are crazy. Down here, it's super chill.
Yeah,
like
there's
no vibe of any of that.
That's good.
But yeah, I've been driving all over down here and just rented a sweet vehicle. Turo, man. Turo's the best. Like Turo, if you guys haven't rented cars through Turo, it is literally the best thing ever. It is so easy. Awesome. Oh yeah, it's great.
I used it
great
one time that I remember. We got the
for work
Nissan. Yeah.
So next article, Bub, we got pretty strange meatballs made with mammoth DNA.
Yeah, we got a Fred Flintstone and Barney Rubble dinner. You know, get that rack of ribs and throw it on the side of the car. So the Australians, you know, they just really have this, you know, desire for umami, savory mammoth meatballs. Apparently, I'm just poking fun on Australia. I've never been there, but I want to come hang out sometime and check it out. So I'm just mean all in good fun there. But woolly mammoth remains. This comes from CNN World. Woolly mammoth remains with fur and tissue still intact are regularly found entombed in Arctic permafrost. Did not know that. The world's largest deep freeze right there. Their discovery has allowed scientists to sequence the mammoth genome and learn intriguing details about the lives of these extinct Ice Age giants. Now, some of that information is being used to grow an approximation of mammoth meat in a lab. Mammoth meat. Vow, an Australian cultured meat startup, has made it what it describes as a mammoth meatball. The project's goal, according to the company, is to draw attention to the potential of cultured meat to make eating habits more planet-friendly. On Tuesday, the meatball will join the collection at Jeebum. You see that word? I'm going to say Rick's Museum, Borhave, a museum. Do you see the name in the article, Mike? Just try to read that just above the red box there for me, would you?
Let's see. Borhave?
How do you say that? Rick's... What would you say there? I just want to see if I'm even close.
Rick's Museum Borhave.
Borhave, a museum of science and medicine in the Netherlands.
Okay.
There we go. We need gold member. We need to start rethinking how we get our food, quote. My biggest hope for this project is that a lot more people across the world begin to hear about cultured meat, said James Ryle, Val's chief scientific officer. A wonderfully wacky public stunt. The meatballs aren't intended for human consumption, so that's kind of crazy. Even calling the creation mammoth meat is a bit of a stretch. It's more like lab-made lamb mingled with a tiny amount of mammoth DNA. So maybe they're piggybacking off of, you know, kind of how they did in Jurassic Park. You need the genetics of the amphibian to, you know, fill in the gaps of the DNA. I think that's what they're doing with the lamb, but scientists working on the project didn't have access to a frozen stash of mammoth tissue on which to base their efforts. Instead, they focused on a protein present in mammals called myoglobin that gives meat its texture, color, and taste. Identifying the DNA sequence for the mammoth version in a publicly available genome database. Filled in the gaps in the mammoth myoglobin DNA sequence using information from the genome of the African elephant, Scientists inserted the synthesized gene into a sheep muscle cell, which was then cultured or grown in a lab. That's craziness right there, right?
Yeah.
How does that work? What,
dude?
What do you feed that meatball to make it a meatball? That's like
meatball DNA, bro.
That's
that like DNA. I mean, Necro said that John Reeves guy from Boneyard, Alaska, he was on Rogan talking about eating mammoth.
Oh, get out of here. That's crazy.
Had cooked it up.
Wow.
And it had been frozen. And there was a certain amount of time where they had kind of carved as like all leathery and they cooked it up and ate it, dude. Stoners, I'd totally eat a mammoth meatball with a good red sauce. Hey, you know what? Depends how. Boy, I don't know.
All I can think of now that I see that giant meatball is Meat Wad from Aqua Teen Hunger Force.
No,
that's all I can think of when
I knew you were going to bring that up. And so I was like, nope, I'm not going to say it because I know Bub will bring up Meat Wad because he loves Aqua Teen Hunger Force.
It's the first time I thought about it, though.
Dude, the first few times I did not understand that show at all. But like the more you watch it, like there's nothing to understand. It's just ridiculous.
I love it.
Oh.
I mean, I see where they're going with this, and I've kind of skimmed through the rest of the article. So what the goal is, right? Yeah. You know, this is kind of going in the same direction of a lot of things of, you know, how do we reduce the impact of getting, especially something like meat, which I won't say in most countries because I don't know about most countries. I just know that, like, you know, say when we were in Cambodia or in Thailand, something like that, the average consumption of meat by any Cambodian or Thailand native was like super, super low, right? Like the amount of beef and pork and chicken and whatever else that, you know, we Americans eat in a given year versus most other countries. Now, for some, obviously for like religious purposes, right? Like they don't eat cows or pigs or whatever. But on the whole, you know, even countries that do eat, you know, animal products, we are by far and away like blowing everybody out of the water. But what do you feel about it? Like, would you go into the store and you pick up the packaging, right? You could get the Mammoth Meatball cloned, you know, meat, or you can get the regular old grass-fed cow or, you know, grain-fed.
If I'm going to the store, I'm not getting it. But if it's in like a pretty dope restaurant, I might try it.
You think?
Yeah, sure.
Give it a shot.
You know, cloned meat just kind of freaks me out. I don't know. It seems a bit unnatural and just weird. I don't know. It might give me the heebie-jeebies actually sitting there, but I would definitely take a bite.
Yeah.
Why not?
I could see that.
Somebody's gonna eat it.
Yeah. No. I got no objections. I was just curious as to what your take was on it and how you felt about it, because it's, look, we're not a species that once we have an idea and figure out that we can do it, again, we don't always
do it.
Right. We don't always think about should we do it.
Never. No.
You know.
Yeah.
Even
we
with
have
AI.
the technology to do it, you're gonna do it.
Yeah.
You're gonna think about the repercussions later.
Right.
I mean, Jurassic Park situation.
Right. Even with ChatGPT though, right? Now that the AI genie is out of the bottle, like the impact that that's going to have, and I think even more rapidly than, you know, what we've been seeing with automation. And
yeah, I think I freaked my dad out about ChatGPT
today
really? When I was talking about this episode. Yeah.
It's crazy.
He's like, hey, what do you think about that? It seems like you could just get out of hand, don't you think? I was like, you should check out ChatGPT and what that's all about. I tried to explain it to him. He was just like, oh God, what?
Right.
And it's insane.
There's also like a hack that you can do on ChatGPT to where you can make it give you different answers.
Yeah.
I don't remember what it was.
It'll hold back according to like what's politically correct too.
Right. But there's a way to but there's a way to get around that. Yeah. I've seen a couple articles on it of getting different responses based on how you
it's like using Brave search versus Google search or something like that, maybe.
Yeah.
Where it's kind of like, you know, unedited in a way.
Yeah, Brave is so locked down.
But
that's
you want to move on?
Yeah, go
more
for
about
it.
that?
Nope, I'm good on
All
the
right, cool.
Mammoth Meatball. Have at it.
Let's move on. We got a science.org article in the archaeology section. David Malkoff, and the headline is, "In Miami, a modern clash over 2,000-year-old archaeological site. These high-rises to be built on an extraordinary Native American site." And this is something that happens all the time, which in Miami, you would think such a huge city already that's been developed, that they would still be finding ancient Native American sites. And back the cocaine days of the 80s,
tell me somebody didn't know about this back then.
50 cranes going up, putting up high rises with all that blow money back in the 80s, and they were just building. There was nobody checking that. How many sites were ruined back in those days, where you just had corrupt, construction companies working with corrupt government?
That's what I'm saying. Look the other way.
Backhanded deals happening. Yeah,
right.
Dude.
Right.
Like, we got a bank down the street that's got $1 billion in cash. There's like all these tiny little banks that popped up that just had like Fort Knox levels of cash and gold inside of them. But moving on, Miami, for nearly 2 years, bustling team of archaeologists totaling more than 120 researchers on some days have excavated a sprawling waterfront lot here in one of the seaside city's toniest neighborhoods. The diggers have uncovered ancient human remains and some 1 million artifacts that are providing rare insight into a major Native American settlement known as the Tequesta, which flourished at the mouth of the Miami River some 2,000 years ago. It's truly extraordinary site, says archaeologist Tracy Arden of the University of Miami, who is not part of the dig. Notable discoveries, she says, included ancient wooden tools and plant materials that rarely survive in Florida's subtropical climate, as well as copper and stone artifacts that indicate Tequesta conducted a vibrant trade with distant tribes. Researchers know relatively little about Miami's prehistoric founders, says Arden, who expects the finds to add a great deal to our understanding. But the dig, which city rules require a developer to conduct before building 3 luxury high-rises, has also fueled a fierce conflict over how Miami, which boasts tout as a new city, should recognize and preserve its ancient past. A loose alliance of archaeologists, indigenous people, and preservation advocates want the city to require the developers to transfer the vast artifact trove to a university or museum and help pay for the efforts to study the collection and share findings with the public. We can't just let this important collection languish in some warehouse, says archaeologist William Pestle, one of the leaders of the campaign. For its part of the related group, the site's developer says that it's already spent about $20 million on the dig and is willing to spend millions more on storage, analysis, and interpretation, but if only the city doesn't derail its plan to build some 1,400 residential units. This is out at the Indian Lake. There was a big construction site in Indian Lake in Ohio not that long ago. And I think it was Bowser that actually told me that he had heard through the grapevine that the construction company found a treasure trove of wild artifacts out there at Indian Lake.
I believe
and they just didn't notify anybody, because it's called Indian Lake because it was literally surrounded by burial mounds and archaeoastronomy and actual earthworks, like advanced earthworks with archaeoastronomy encoded into them. And they came across a massive treasure trove, and nobody knows what happened to those artifacts.
Yeah.
So this is a similar thing here, where luckily in Miami, as this dig happens, they got ahead of it because, they did an archaeological survey before. So last week, the issue came to a head at a contentious 5-hour hearing before Miami's Historic Preservation Board, which was considering proposals to place historic designations on the site that could hamper construction. An overflow crowd clapped and jeered as some 50 speakers supported or opposed designation. Members of Native American tribes expressed concerns that the developer had not adequately consulted with the indigenous people about its plans, as well as about Florida's secretive process for deciding what to do with ancient human remains uncovered by archaeologists, such as those found on the site. There's too little transparency around how our ancestors are being treated, says Betty Escala, a member of the Panther Clan of the Miccosukee tribe. In the end, both of the preservations and the developer emerged from April 4th hearing claiming partial victory, but all sides agree the story is far from over. What happens next will be the real test of whether Miami is ready to stop ignoring its past, Pestle says. The flatlands surrounding the Miami River's junction with the Biscayne Bay have long been prime real estate. Native Americans began settling in the area at least around 4,000 years ago, researchers say, and attracted by abundant fresh water and food. It's a classic location for an early Florida occupation, says archaeologist Robert Carr, who has been studying the region for more than 40 years. This is hopefully everything gets protected. They can do a proper dig. If it's some sort of ancient site, or maybe it's just where these people were had homes. Hopefully it's not some kind of ancient temple or religious importance. That's kind of always the worst, is if it's some kind of a temple. Man, you just can't bulldoze that over and build a condo.
Well, if you can try.
If it just makes me sick.
Hey man, it's money.
But progress, dude.
It's money.
You got to have condos. You got to have right angle walls and, big giant rectangular structures. That is, a modern thing that people in ancient times never saw this coming. Our culture's so backwards, the circles, the triangles, all the sacred geometry. And we just build these big, ugly condos and high rises all over the coast. It just blocks everything.
Well, it's nobody cares about. They're like, hey man, put a new parking lot over this. They're like, hey sir, we found a an archaeological site here. Like, I don't care. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, that's what I assume, because again, you would have thought that somebody would have found this originally before they put anything over it. Can't tell me there weren't some kind of signs or no knowledge about a settlement there. Maybe there wasn't, who knows? But there's also the issue of like retail space on this earth. And if there have been a lot of people living on this planet for thousands and hundreds of thousands of years, that we're going to run into places that are desirable, close to shore, whatever, where somebody would ideally set up. There's been a place. But again, this goes back to the theory that, say, the Egyptians didn't build the pyramids and just kind of inherited some of them, and like some of these places were already built, and
the dynastic Egyptians did not build the pyramids, right?
So there's this whole inheriting the earth and already what's there as well sometimes, to the structures and the mounds.
Let's had a good point. In 50 years, it's all going to be underwater. So in 500 years, are we going to care if some future civilization builds another whatever building is at that time over top of our sunken condos?
No.
Looking back, like, what if that was their civilization, was just a bunch of houses and essentially ancient condos?
Yeah.
So, take the artifacts, make sure the Native Americans and the groups down there are if there's bodies, of course, if there's burials, that's where you really have to, have the utmost respect for the site.
Right.
But I mean, do we care in 1,000 years if somebody comes in and digs up these ugly condos?
Right.
No, we don't. They're going to study these condos that are buried under the water, if the sea levels keep rising. Anyways.
I get you. I feel you.
It's always good stuff to keep an eye on, is these archaeological sites. As we keep expanding, they're going to keep uncovering ancient stuff. Here you go. This is kind of a local one. We're going to move on here to, this is a Yahoo, really USA Today, Jack Wolf. Archaeologists discovered 2,000-year-old dwelling site of Hopewell Native Americans in Ohio. If you watch our episode with Jeffrey Wilson, he kind of goes through the Hopewell, Fort Ancient, and Adena people. The Hopewell and the Adena, these are all named after essentially white guys. Hopewell was a farmer that had one of these magnificent earthworks on his property. They're really hoping to get these changed to the middle woodland period and kind of change up some of the nomenclature for how they're, but for right now, they're known as the Hopewell people. If you guys haven't checked out that episode, it's definitely worthwhile. Archaeologists have uncovered artifacts Native Americans have left nearly 2,000 years ago in Newark, Ohio, including pottery, oven fragments, and tools. They're just absolutely beautiful, said Andrew Swell, senior historian and principal investigator at Lawhorn and Associates in Columbus, an environmental engineering firm, describing the semi-translucent flint tools. If anybody knows these fellas, I would love to reach out to Andrew. I'm sure we can do a little digging, but this would be amazing to have Andrew Swell on the program at some point. But through extensive surveys and analysis, Sewell determined that a Hopewell family likely inhabited the excavation site in what became the front yard of a house at the corner of Reddington Road and Thornwood Drive. The discovery made at a construction site, here we go again, where workers are building a temporary bridge. The bridge will allow them to reopen a crossing, Cherry Valley Road crossing, that abruptly closed in October. How was the site discovered? The 190-year-old bridge was closed on October 5th because engineers deemed it unsafe. The city of Newark had plans to replace it, the original bridge, but the unexpected closure forced a change in plans. Installing a temporary bridge to get traffic flowing again as construction begins on the nearby new bridge and roadway expected to open in 2025. Before any site preparations or construction could begin on the new bridge, roadway realignment and roundabout and archaeological survey was performed. Starting in early 2018, a team of archaeologists from Lawhorn and Associates were hired to do the survey. What they found is shedding new light on the lives and cultures of the Hopewell Native Americans who once lived in the area. Their survey was required by National Historic Preservation Act, which mandates surveying such a construction site to determine whether it has historic and or cultural structures that otherwise would be affected by regulations guiding projects involving federal funding. In this case, it did. Right on the river, too. Anybody knows anything about Ohio ancient people, they're always on the river. And so, this will be something. The bridge was built in 1833. It was a part of the Ohio and Erie Canal Aqueduct. And if you guys have ever come to Ohio, checking out the old lock system in the Erie Canal is pretty sick. And Coshocton that day, we went to the triple lock, took a bunch of photos, flew the drone. There's a big lock system kind of in the area where we grew up. But the Erie Canal was a big deal here, and all those canals are still there. All those locks are still there. They're built with these huge, big, giant stones. But it was quite a massive engineering project all through Pennsylvania, Ohio. It goes through New Bremen, Ohio, where we grew up, and just, a lot of those places are still there. So it's a big part of our Ohio history. So we really hope that that site is protected. They get to dig up as many artifacts and learn as much as they possibly can. Because again, I don't think enough research is being done on these ancient Native Americans in Ohio. So, kudos to them. That's all I had for that one. If we want to move on.
Yeah. We got another one.
The next one?
Yeah. From BBC, and Prehistoric Art Hints at Lost Indian Civilization. This comes from October 1st of 2018. The discovery of rock carvings believed to be tens of thousands of years old in India's western state of Maharashtra has greatly excited archaeologists who believe they hold clues to previously unknown civilizations. BBC Marathis Mayuresh Kannur reports. The rock carvings known as petroglyphs have been discovered in their thousands atop hillocks in the Konkan region of western Maharashtra, mostly discovered in the Ratnagiri and Rajapur areas. A majority of the images etched on the rocky, flat hilltops remained unnoticed for thousands of years. Most of them were hidden beneath layers of soil and mud, but a few were in the open. These were considered holy and worshipped by locals in some areas. The sheer variety of the rock carvings have stunned experts. Animals, birds, human figures, and geometrical designs are all depicted. The way the petroglyphs have been drawn and their similarity to those found in other parts of the world have led experts to believe that they were created in prehistoric times and are possibly among the oldest ever discovered. Our first deduction quote from examining these petroglyphs is that they were created around 10,000 BC. The director of the Maharashtra State Archaeology Department, Tejas Garge, told the BBC. The credit for the discovery goes to a group of explorers led by Sudhir Risbud and Manoj Marathe, who began searching for the images in earnest after observing a few in the area. Many were found in village temples and played a part in local folklore. Another quote, "We walked thousands of kilometers. People started sending photographs to us, and we even enlisted schools in our efforts to find them. We made students ask their grandparents and other village elders if they knew about any other engravings. They provided us with a lot of valuable information," Mr. Risbud told the BBC. Together, they found petroglyphs in and around 52 villages in that area, but only around 5 villages were aware that the images even existed. Apart from actively searching for them, Mr. Risbud and Mr. Marathe have also played an important role in documenting the petroglyphs and lobbying authorities to get involved in studying and preserving them. Some of these are crazy. I don't know if you're looking at these. These are
wild, right?
Wild, Jesus.
I mean, they kind of look like, some of them look like the American Southwest, like that one right there.
Yeah.
I mean, you see that stuff in the American Southwest.
Is that a flying squirrel? What is that? Is that just like a geometric? Some of them like are geometric. Some are animal shapes. Like, there's not. Yeah, it's nuts. Gargi says the images.
Back up real quick. Stoner's dad said he can dig at our place at Indian Lake. I'll buy the beer.
Yeah, let's go.
How about a LiDAR scan or ground penetrating radar?
Well, we could do some of that. And then we could plot out, plot lines and do our little chart and grid and start digging.
I'll bet there's stuff out there, man.
I'm sure there is.
I'll bet.
I'm sure there is. There's got to be some artifacts. I don't know. We'll take them up on it. We'll have to go out and do some research at the lake. Sounds like a difficult journey. We can handle that.
With beer.
Yeah. Get some hams. Garge says the images appear to have been created by a hunter-gatherer community which was not familiar with agriculture. Quote, "We have not found any pictures of farming activities, but the images depict hunted animals and there's detailing of animal forms. So this man knew about animals and sea creatures. That indicates he was dependent on hunting for food." Dr. Shrikant Pradhan, a researcher and art historian at Poon's Deccan College, who has studied the petroglyphs closely, said that the art was clearly inspired by things observed by people at the time. Another quote, "Most of the petroglyphs show familiar animals. There are images of sharks and whales as well as amphibians like turtles," Mr. Gargi adds. But this begs the question of why some of the petroglyphs depict animals like hippos and rhinoceroses, which aren't found in this part of India. Did the people who created them migrate to India from Africa, or were these animals once found in India? Well, that's a good question.
Well, they did have rhinoceros. Actually, I think they still do have rhinoceros.
Yeah.
In some parts of India.
Well, I don't know. Well, I guess they're not found in that part of India, so maybe they just came from another part of India, so maybe not even Africa. But
India used to have a lot of African type animals.
Yeah, these are cool. How crazy is that though too? Of like when they're like, "Hey, we need to crowdsource this effort. Go ask your grandfather. Go ask your grandmother." Right. Like, do they know about these? What would you do in that situation? Do you kind of like say?
Depends. If you're in America, no. But India is way more open.
You think
with
so?
Their historic. Mexico, 100%. You could trust a lot of archaeologists and academia down there. They're very, very, very open.
Yeah.
I would be hesitant in Ohio to tell anyone anything if I had a private property.
I don't think I would tell anybody anything either.
I had a mound. If I had a copper gorget in the ground.
Right.
Or dug something up, dude.
Giant skull.
I would never.
7-foot long femur, something just bizarre.
No.
That's the thing. I don't think I would either.
No, if it's a bone and stuff like that, you have to respect and, make sure at least contact a Native American tribe if it's, ancestors or
right.
something like that.
I'm saying, yeah, well, I can understand that, but yeah.
But I wouldn't want anybody to come and take my artifacts and have it end up in some Peabody museum at Harvard.
Yeah, I'm not calling
Ohio.
I'm not calling the institute that shall not be named.
Yeah.
Hey, you guys come out and verify this for me? Sure will. Yeah, I'll bet you will.
Starts with an S. That's all the further we'll go. You guys have watched this show enough to know who we're bitching about.
I'm talking about Jay.
Yeah. We're talking about Jay from Cryptids of the Corn and his organization.
Career.
Yeah. His secret career.
Justin England is operating by
Man in Black, working for the Smithsonian. He's actually a Men in Black type character. God.
Justin's just playing it close to the vest with him. He's keeping his enemies close for real. He knows that Jay's a plant.
Right. He's already infiltrated us. He's already infiltrated us.
What was the tinfoil sombrero? I think
right to the source with us.
Yeah.
Keeping an eye on what we're doing.
Yeah. It was that tinfoil sombrero kept us out.
Right. This next one's a Vice article, and it's by Hannah Dr. Loeb.
There you go.
Headline: Scientists Stonehenge is not a calendar. It's something more mysterious. Boy, I don't know about that. The rock formation of Stonehenge is a familiar sight to many, though its purpose to ancient humans is unknown. Last year, a scientist proposed that the iconic monument was used to represent a calendar year. However, a new article published last week in Antiquity claims to debunk this theory, putting Stonehenge back in the realm of mystery. According to the authors of the article, Guglielmo Magli from the Politenzio di Milano in Italy and Juan Antonio Belmonte from the Institute dell'Astrofisica. Sorry, I'm not going to be able to do it, guys. Somewhere in Spain, this is proposed. This proposal is unsubstantiated. I've had like 4 drinks in the last few hours, so I'm not even trying.
Good.
I'm just unsubstantiated, being based as it is in a combination of forced interpretations, numerology, and unsupported analogies. The Stonehenge calendar model argues that some of the monument's stones represent a calendar based on a 365-day year divided into 12 months, 30 days each, including 5 epigomemal days, with the addition of the leap year every 4 years. As the authors argue, there are 3 lines of faulty reasoning here. They first point out that the theory relies on numerology, which they defined as a pseudo-scientific form of reasoning that seeks hidden but meaningful relationships between numbers and concept. They argue that the number 12 is not recognizable in any specific feature of the monument, and that the interpretation is likely prey to the selection effect, in that researchers focus on information relevant to what they want to be true. In terms of astronomy, the authors acknowledge that the solstice alignment is quite accurate. However, they note that the slow movement of the sun at the horizon during these days therefore makes it impossible to control the correct working of the calendar. They also emphasize that the idea of Stonehenge calendar is based on a cultural astronomical analogies comparing the proposed Stonehenge calendar to Egyptian calendars. They claim this is a faulty analogy. Such monuments have not been found in Egypt, and the supposed source of the inspiration for the practice, and here is not a single piece of evidence to support the claim of an independent development in the 3rd millennia BC Britain, they write. In an email to Motherboard, Magli wrote that rather than reshaping the narrative, their work brings Stonehenge back to an interpretation that's not modern-centered, exact calendar and so on, but close to what we really know about Neolithic Britain, a place for worship and the afterlife of the ancestors. The authors also emphasize the importance of well-trained researchers working on the projects. We believe that matters such as ancient calendars, astronomical alignments, and cultural astronomy should be reserved to specialists trained in the subject and not left to researchers from other disciplines. However, renowned and knowledgeable in their own fields, they write, multidisciplinary and collaboration offer the most effective way forward. Boom. We talk about this all the time. This is Jeff's big message during his episode, was all these different fields need to be working on this stuff. As soon as you bring in different points of view, boom, you have research like this. The author of the study that the researchers were commenting on, Timothy Darville from Bournemouth University, did not respond to a request for the comment in time for publication. But according to Darville, the article does not undermine the essential model of the sarsen structures at Stonehenge being constructed as a manifestation of a perpetual solar calendar. The rather minor issues raised in relation to marking and naming the months, for example, are all unresolved questions that I recognize and commented on in the original article, in which in the present state of archaeology at the site we cannot yet answer, he wrote. The major beef seems to be in relation to the suggestion, and it was only a suggestion for further work, that the basic structure of Stonehenge calendar might in some way derive from the Egyptian civil calendar that developed in the Eastern Mediterranean in the early 3rd millennium BC. While Stonehenge's purpose is still a mystery, other researchers suggest it could have functioned as a ceremonial landscape to honor dead ancestors. It's important to try to think the way that the builders did, with a deep respect for their motivating ideas. I tend to actually agree with that it's there's another site that's basically down by the river, and people would come up from the river and get off on this site that was actually an earthwork. Mm-hmm. It had earthen walls, wasn't made of stone, so it was like the female energy, and then Stonehenge was like this male energy, and there'd be it's like life and then death. So they would have the analogy of life, then they would take this big long path all the way from that river and that other structure up to Stonehenge, where Stonehenge represented the afterlife and death. And so it's like this whole soul's journey, if you will.
Right.
And I tend to think that as they discover how these other sites are connected with Stonehenge, and that it's all one giant procession of all these folks that would get together and do this year after year after year. Hey, Burton Moran, how's it going, buddy?
Bert.
But you know, it's a bit strange as usual. Mammoth Meatballs. This has been an interesting one. But that's all I really had for that one, Bub.
Yeah.
Is that all of them? Do we have any more?
Nope, that's a wrap.
Wrapped them all up?
That's the strange.
Well, that's the this episode coming to you, special edition from Vero Beach, Florida. We decided that, well, shit, I could probably make this happen. Depending on, I've been trying to figure out this whole week. It's like, we need to do a Strange Happenings. We'll figure out a time. We'll make it happen.
Yeah.
You guys, Bub, Stoner, Disbro, thank you for putting the episode together. We've been working remotely, but super happy we could do this.
Absolutely.
Good times.
I was about to say, my tenet about the strange road and the strange happenings and the reason why it's not going to stop is because there's always something strange going on. So, I mean, yeah. We got to kind of vent it. Yeah.
And watch it. It is one of the most popular thing we do on the audio platforms.
It is.
For some reason.
Yeah.
Are like jumping at the bit for Thursdays when Strange Happenings drops.
Yeah.
We're starting to see more people, I think, from the audio side coming over to the YouTube side. But we want to, always, the links are there if you're listening, so you can kind of follow along.
Right.
With, if you're just listening at home, a lot of times we have visuals. So don't forget that the links are in the description after every episode, whether it's the audio platforms or YouTube. If you guys want to double check us and see how many words I misspelled and mispronounced. And,
I had a bunch.
Over. That can be a drinking game.
I do want to say,
how many times did you mess up somebody's name?
Yeah, well,
or
true.
Look.
Yeah, I will say though, I still think that caterpillar's name was Puss and not Puss. It's not how you spell puss.
Way, in the image, it was Steven Spielberg's hat after
it was
the
toupee.
The post-episode edit that Necromechanimal made, which I had no clue until he pointed it out.
Oh, yeah.
Because again, a lot of times I kind of black out during these episodes and I don't remember what you said or I said.
Yeah.
We get into this kind of flow state.
Yeah.
And so when I'm going back in those edits, I'm like, what is that? What is that? Like when I was Molaram.
Yeah.
Totally forgot about the Indiana Jones. It's like, am I like some Agnihotra shaman?
No, so, you gotta look over everything in his images with a fine-tooth comb. It's so much fun.
Oh, dude. Yeah, if you guys aren't following Necromechanimal on Instagram, he covers a lot of other podcasts, Joe Rogan, Hollow Sky, last podcast on the left.
Yep.
But prolific
Makes some
creator.
Hilarious artwork, yeah.
Oh my god, dude.
Cracks me up.
The one with us and the Cryptid Huntress
as the Sasquatch marsupials.
Their baby sass marsupials with us writing in her pouch. Bro, that one about broke me.
Well, and it confused us for a minute because we were like, did we say that in the episode? And we're like, no, we said that in Strange Happenings because that's the day we doubled up Strange Happenings.
Right.
Yeah.
That week we did 2 episodes, Cryptid Huntress and a Strange Happenings. Went live with DA on Wednesday.
And
then we went live with Adam. That following on Thursday. Or
Rushu.
I'm sorry, Heather.
Rushu.
Oh, Ron. Yes.
It was Rushu Ron.
Well, we had a run there for a couple weeks.
Yeah.
It's all blending together.
Yeah.
But that's why those images are amazing because I can go back and actually remember what the hell we talked about. So
wait, real quick. What did Burton just say what did he say Burton, what does that mean? You had a visitor last night. What kind of visitor? Like a fan meter visitor? Like a giant owl visitor? Let's see what Burton says here.
EP related?
We'll give him a minute. I don't know what that means. Maybe I missed something.
Hit me up, Burton.
Yeah.
I'm on vacation, so I'm responding a little bit late, but here we go. Shadow Man.
Did you see Necro's comment real quick? You got to see Necro's comment up top.
Unbutton the shirt more, Mikey. I got you, dog. Hey, by the way, Stoner's dad, you should see my legs now, boss. They are tan. You think I had nice legs on the last episode? Dude, I have a tan now. So wait till I bring back the shorts in studio, bro.
That's so funny.
Nice Florida shirt, my wife says. Thanks, honey.
So he said,
work just for you.
You did have shadow men that came into your room.
Damn.
No thanks.
Okay, we might have to have a special emergency Burton Moran appearance.
Yeah. We might have to make that happen. Talk shadow men.
Dude, it'd be cool. Maybe we go live on Instagram with Burton or something like that.
Yeah.
When I get back.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe Burton, I'll hit you up on the side. Oh, damn. Okay.
Wow. Were you having sleep paralysis, Burton? Or was this just like you just woke up and they were there? Because like, I got you.
Have to read it.
Gotcha. That's a good point. That's a good point.
With the heart.
Yeah, no, I didn't think about it. So Burton said a shadow man came into his room, and then I can't make out. I don't know if it says, dude. He opened his eyes and one was standing in the door. No thanks. I've been there. Yeah, I wasn't sleeping though. I didn't wake up. That's why I wonder if he was sleeping and woke up and did that. But yeah, that's craziness right there. We might have to. Yeah, we might have to do a special.
We're gonna get more details on that.
Council of the Burton.
Yes. Wild stuff, Burton. We'll chat on the side
for sure.
My wife popped in here and saying hi to Stookie.
That's hilarious.
Jared Hess is in here
too. Under a bunch of aliases.
Under Chiba.
Not asleep yet, but I'm. Oh, okay. Maybe not. I don't know if we're down tonight to do that, Burton. We might do we might have to do a chat or like a Twitter space or something tomorrow or something like that.
Yeah, maybe this weekend or Friday when I get back.
I would be down to talk about it for sure. Would love to. Always down for a good shadow person story.
Well, I think we're good. Man. You got anything else?
No. As always, as you say at the end of the show, like, subscribe, tell a friend. If you don't like it, if you've got thoughts or opinions for us, let us hear them. If you've got stories, like, Mike and I were both sharing, we had some people kind of reaching out and filling in the gaps. That's so cool. I love a good story, no matter if it's us on here doing the strange happenings or a guest, or we get, somebody reaching out in that context. So please keep it up. We love the interaction.
Yep. And thank you to everyone in the chat. You guys are killing it like always.
Always stellar.
You're the best. Thank you to everybody that listens on all the audio platforms. Share this, share our channel, share our podcast, share the love. Much love to all the new followers on TikTok, Instagram.
Absolutely.
You can find it on Facebook at The Strange Road, Instagram, TikTok. Hit us up. We have a couple links that can get you to pretty much everywhere we are. So we appreciate all of you out there, and we're going to sign off. This has been special edition Strange Happenings. I'm live in Vero Beach. Bubs holding it down with Stoner and Disbro in the studio.
Correct.
And we're signing off. Take us out, bud.
See you guys later. Till next time.